Mr. Franks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and members of the Assembly. We bring to you House Joint Resolution Constitutional Amendment 62, which is a logical extension of existing law that requires a supermajority of votes for legislative action outside the regularly scheduled legislative session. Presently, any votes in any measure after May 31st, with an immediate effective date, requires a supermajority. This constitutional amendment seeks to extend those same procedural protections during any lame duck legislative session, which by definition is outside the regularly scheduled legislative session, to votes dealing with tax increases. It's only fair that those people who will face the voters be the ones to make the decisions in the regular legislative session. Lame duck sessions should not be used for 11th hour tax increases with a lower vote standard than a veto session. Now, when the Quinn tax increase was approved, my colleagues on the Republican side of the aisle correctly criticized the actions of those lame duck legislators. As I mentioned yesterday on Representative McSweeney's resolution, my friends Jim Durkin, Representatives Pritchard and Kay even filed similar legislation to this measure to halt this practice. David Harris, who's not here today, also filed a bill. His even went farther. His bill said that there would always be a 3/5 vote for a tax increase. That's not what this bill is, though. It says if you're going to have a tax increase during a lame duck, that you would require a 3/5. Yesterday, taxpayer advocacy groups like the Illinois Policy Institute, Americans for Tax Reform, Americans for Prosperity, and the Illinois Chamber testified in committee and wrote letters opposing the practice of lame ducks tax increases without a heightened vote. We passed this bill out of committee yesterday unanimously, and we have many co-sponsors. Presently, there are 16 of us in the General Assembly who are lame duck members. And if you do the math, that's more than 25% necessary to pass a tax hike under the present rules. So this legislation provides a more responsive, representative government by limiting the ability of lame duck, unaccountable legislators to force a tax hike onto our citizens. This change is long overdue and necessary to protect the integrity of our elections and to ensure accountability to the voters. I am one of those 16 lame duck legislators. What we really could be, though, is a zombie apocalypse if we're not stopped, because we're the Walking Dead. We don't have to respond to the voters. I know you like that, Mr. Sullivan. But you look back, and it's rare to see, we only have to look back 5 years in our history for a verdict on policy choices. And let's really hear what happened a few years ago. When economic recovery in earnest in the rest of the country began to accelerate, a tax hike here, born out of political expediency and patronage, choked it off in Illinois. We can't allow that to happen again. I'd be happy to answer any questions. We talked briefly yesterday about how we witnessed the 11th hour tax increase during the 96th Legislative Assembly when the governor huddled right back here at the back of the chamber in the shadows, cutting those deals. Our citizens deserve much more, and this constitutional amendment will give it to them.